Welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while since I've been here, so I'm going to do a little unboxing video today on a new reel in the collection, the Shimano Power Aero 1400 XSC. So we're going to have a first look at it just now. As you can see, well organised pack of materials. What a beautiful bit of kit. Really nice looking reel. Alright, so you've got the main reel. Doesn't come with a spare handle, however, I'm sure you can get spares if you need them, but overall impressions first of all, it feels really solid. Nice clicker on the drag, nice quick drag to actually get that locked up, so definitely handy if you needed to get something turned and away from the kelp. Really impressed with this. Nice deep spool. This is a hybrid spool, so it's definitely ready for braid or monofilament. Lovely stuff. So in the box you get the usual manual from Shimano, explaining all the different components in detail. So if you did ever need to order spares, I'm sure you could refer to the manual. And as with anything, if you go to any Shimano dealer, they'll always keep you right. I got this one from Veal's mail order, so definitely worth checking Veal's out if you do want some quality gear. Great service from them, they always get it sent up to me really quickly. So, list of parts here. So again, for you spec nerds, people that want to get spare parts just in case, or maybe you're a bit rough on your gear, you can, to your heart's content, you just need to order the relevant numbers, as you can see there, so quite handy to have that. What else do we get? We get some spacers. I haven't really started using spacers until the last couple of years, and actually if you're fishing light braid, which is my preference, it just means you've got to put a whole load less backing on the reels. So these just clip onto the existing spools, and then you would just put your braid onto these. So there's a 3500 size option with this one. Some other Shimano reels come with different size options as well. So yeah, definitely worth doing this if you do fish fine braids, or maybe even if you fish tapered mono on surf, in surf locations. We've got more spool bands here. So these are the 6000 size. So again, these are going to allow you to make your reel slightly deeper. The actual XSC itself is a 1400 size reel, and it comes with a lovely spare spool, which is always fantastic. And I like that Shimano have cut these grooves into the reel. It makes bedding your line on that much easier. You don't need to use tape, but I sometimes stick a wrap of electrical tape around. So inside, they've actually improved the clicker. So this is quite a good feature in my opinion. The clicker is noticeably louder and better quality than the previous iteration of the Power Aero. Actually, just show you, so I've got an XTB here to compare it. This is the XTB, but the person that had this before me has actually modified this. So this has got the pen clicker, which you can see there is really good quality, really sturdy, rather than the spring that they used to use previously. It didn't give a great noise, it was quite quiet. So the new XSC, as you can see, they've adopted the same clicker that my friend modified his with. So really interesting to see that they've advanced their their spec sheet in terms of how the reel is. I'm used to Shimano reels coming with spare spools, however I'm not used to them both being nice, good quality spools like these. Usually they're both quite different, so it's nice to get two great quality spools. To look a little bit closer, the handle is a sort of flexible handle, so it's not solid like you would get on some of the Saragosas, but do bear in mind that these are durable reels, and you know, they're built to last the test of time, so I'm not too worried about this not being a one-piece handle as such. The previous Power Aeros, they had quite you know, a kind of a stainless silver effect, and it looked nice, granted, but for the stealthy look. Looking at the front of the reel initially, you've got the usual high-speed drag from Shimano, which is a really nice feature, as I said before. It goes from nice and loose, so you can set it in the tripod. You're not worried about fish taking the rod out the rest. With a couple of clicks, it's pretty solid, yeah. And then another rotation, and you're pretty much locked up. So that's amazing if you're fighting large specimen fish, which I think these reels are ideally suited for. You've got a reel here with a high speed retrieve ratio, so they're really great for cranking fish in. If you want to get something up and you want to get it up over a kelp bed or over a ledge, these kind of reels really do excel in that category. So yeah, it's a really nice looking bit of kit. It's also very solid feeling, so there's no flex in the actual reel seat itself. You know, the body is solid, and you know, I guess if there's any reservations I have about the reel, which I have about some of the surf range of Shimano, is, you know, maybe they could have done a sort of a slightly better job on the bail arms. Some of these Daiwa surf reels come with slightly thicker bail arms, but that said, these have never caused an issue, so it's probably just me being fussy more so than anything. It's got an anti-reverse lever there, which I don't really use for my fishing, but I do see some guys using it to walk their rods back to the tripod after making a cast. But yeah, certainly a really nice bit of kit there. As you can see, the spool has got a small line keeper, so you can tuck your leader in there, which is quite handy for those longer walks, although I would advise buying a spool band for these as well, just to keep the line tidy at all times. So yeah, ultimately this is a really nice high performance sea fishing reel. Certainly casting distance is something that you are going to get improved with this. Shimano have put the rigid cast technology into this reel, so it's going to enhance your casting performance, and it also is going to reduce tangling of the line. Any kind of, you know, birds' nests, any fluff ups, any issues, it's going to kind of reduce that. The oscillation, it's got super slow oscillation, this reel, so you know, your line lay really is going to be immaculate if you're using this reel. As with all Shimano reels, it's butter smooth, it's nice and light in the hand, and as I say, that high gear ratio just means that you can really crank fish up when you need to, so there's a lot of really good things going for this reel. The new reel's got this ARC spool design, so it enhances the line control, reducing friction, and it allows for precise and also kind of smooth casting consistently as well. So really nice reel. So doing a little comparison in terms of size between this reel and the previous iterations of the reel, I've got a 14,000 sized XSB of the old range. So looking at these side by side, they are broadly very similar reels. The main difference I can see is, looking at them initially anyway, this reel has a slightly more pronounced casing around the base of it, meaning that it adds slightly more protection, particularly to your anglers who might fish reel down or perhaps along rocks. Whereas you can see in the new design, it's a slightly different casing with, again, slightly less protection there. And not that it's necessarily a bad thing. I think these reels are going to certainly last the test of time. I just think it's something that's certainly worth noting. So as you can see here, between the two reels, they look similar. You know, perhaps the new reel is a little tad longer in the body, and you know, perhaps a little bit lighter, I would say, than the previous model as well. So subtle differences, but you know, broadly they are very similar reels. If we look, the casing is the same, the reel seat is roughly the same size, you've got a very similar looking handle. This one is more of a gloss finish versus the matte finish on the XSB. Notice that on the old model, there are, you know, differences there. So you've got one main screw here on the side where quite a lot of salt water might ingress. Whereas on the side, that's been taken away, but instead we have three smaller sort of Allen key adjustable screws there. So if you need to take the side plate off, you can do so. Over to the other side, you can see that the old model again has more screws on the opposite side, whereas this one has no screws on this side. So that's a plus for, you know, preventing water ingress, certainly on the XSC. So another plus for that. If we take the spools off for a minute, we'll have a little look underneath and see if there's anything different there. So quite a thick pinion bearing, which is I like to see because you're putting some of these reels under quite a bit of torque, and it's nice to know that you can put the beans on a fish as such and not have to worry about anything giving way. So it's maybe not terrifically obvious to the eye, but certainly the pinion bearing is thicker. The shaft itself, sorry, is actually thicker. So that is definitely going to last a lot longer. This reel is a surf casting reel designed for casting distance. It is torquey, so I think it's got enough poke to deal with big fish, and I think it's got the guts to deal with the heavy ground. But with that said, you know, it's got to be put to the test. So I am going to spool this up with 0.37 braid, and I'm going to take it down onto my local rock marks, and I'm going to fish as I would normally, and I'm just going to see how this performs. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a tackle test, a little bit of a suck it and see. Is this reel going to cope with the ground on the East Coast? Suppose I'll find out. I'm used to using, I suppose, short spool, long, you know, kind of rough ground reels like the Saragosas, Daiwa BGs, maybe Penn Spinfishers, these kinds of reels. So using something with a little bit more finesse, it'll aid casting distance, and also I think the retrieve rate with this reel is great. So I think there's going to be merits to you know, having this kind of reel in the kind of harsh, rocky, shallow reefs and, you know, deep tidal waters that surround the east coast of Scotland, where I'm going to be taking this and giving it a good thrashing. So without further ado, I'm going to get this spooled up. As for line setup on this, as I mentioned, I'm going to be spooling this with braid. I'll normally fill this to the hilt with 0.37 braid, which I think is around about 70 to 80 pound breaking strain. And then on top of that, I will put a 13 meter braid or tapered monofilament leader, depending on the situation that I'm fishing in. Just for that little bit of abrasion resistance, it's quick to change. You can just, I usually use a loop-to-loop connection for the braid leader, so I can just, you know, have a bunch of them spare in the reel bag. Start to fail, I can just swap them out, and if it's clean to mixed ground, or, you know, mixed ground, I sometimes will fish a tapered monofilament leader, and the Cedra tapered leader is really excellent stuff. So anyway, I've spoken enough about the reel. I'm going to get it spooled up now. I will be back with you soon down on the rocks.